there wasn't really enough room for me in the farm. Typed into Google when I got home and it says biogas, and that was the start of the journey then. When we got to the airport and the first trip, we were all sort of giddy nearly that this was we found the hen of the day of the golden egg. By the time we were getting on the plane, we said, oh, this is a disaster, doesn't count.
It's November time and it's something slightly different that we're starting a new series of interviews. In 2017, we started Facebook Live. Huge audience, 76,000 followers on Facebook now. Thousands of people tune in every single weekend. Millions of views throughout the year. But there's just something that we're not delivering to you, the audience at home, is who are these drivers and co-drivers? Who's the crews? Who's the people involved in rallying? And I'm delighted to say that I'm starting a new series of interviews. We've lots of people lined up, lots of interesting characters. Today, we're just outside Strabane with one very interesting character is Jason Mitchell. Relatively new to rallying, started rallying just 5 years ago. And he also is one of the largest farmers in Northern Ireland. So we're going to spend the day with Jason. I hope you enjoy our day with him and drop it in the comments. Let us know how you enjoyed the video. Jason.
Hello, Killian.
Good to see you. How's things?
Good, Killian.
A nice frosty morning in just outside Strabane.
Yeah.
I was saying on the interview, you're relatively new to rallying. 5 years ago you started. Everyone knows you from the end of stage interviews. You have great passion. Few rally wins under the belt this year. But we're trying to find out who is the man behind the steering wheel. So we're hoping to give us an insight into your life today. Quickly, what do you do?
Well, Killian, look, I suppose we have a few businesses. We've a dairy farm and we have an energy business as well, and we do some property work as well. So, yeah, we have a few different sides to us. So we have, but look, Killian, we'll take you and show you what goes on in our place on a daily basis and take it from there.
So you grew up locally here?
Yeah, on the farm, yeah.
Right, so that's your family farm?
Yeah.
And we always mad into the farming. Like, what was
always mad into farming? But we were sent away to boarding school, so we were and to Belfast, and spent 5 or 6 years up there, and then come back home again. And I was always mad about farming, so was. And if I tell the truth, when I come back home, my father, there wasn't really enough room for me in the farm.
Right.
So I went to college, finished college. I went to Greenmount, finished Greenmount.
And what did you study in college?
Done my national diploma just on agriculture.
Yeah.
And come home and bought a digger to do a bit of work around the farm. And then I headed off doing construction, headed off just hiring.
And what's this, about 15, 20 years ago or more, longer?
98, 99.
Okay.
So
over 25 years ago.
25 years ago. And I went out, and I suppose we were quite lucky as the property boom was just starting, and there was plenty of work on that side of things, and very quickly realised we could make a few pound at it, Killian, and we ended up then building houses. Right. And I had quite a few good years at the houses and sort of got myself built up, but was still sort of running the farm. My father was very active at that time.
Yeah.
And I suppose I was there in the background all the time to help with things for him, and then just as he got older, I moved more into it. And I suppose now this last 15 or 20 years I've been sort of fully in control of that, and the building then slowed down. We were also looking at, or if I tell the truth, I was looking at other ways of making more money at the farm, because the farm can be a labour of love.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of particularly in the UK now, I think a lot of people are, even Clarkson's farm, a lot of people are realising that, the farm could be worth $1 million and you might make 30 grand a year. Like, it's hard to survive on it. Like.
Exactly. Cash rich and
or land rich and cash poor.
Or cash poor, exactly. So I was looking at ways of trying to make more money out of the farm, and we looked at different businesses that sort of attach itself to farming, and like composting was one, but we sort of stumbled across, I would say, biogas, and I think that went maybe from 2004 or 2005. I was playing rugby for City of Derry,
Yeah.
and I got injured on the Thursday night. We were playing a playoff, and I went down with a team just to watch, and we were in the bar, and the Horse and Jockey
Yeah.
at Cashel.
Yeah.
We were playing Cashel, and I got speaking to a guy, and he asked me what I did, and I says, look, I was fireman, done a bit of building, and we were looking to get into compost, and he says you should do what the nuns do.
Right.
And I said, what was that? And he says they use their own waste to cook with and everything else. So, and I said, what is that? And he said biogas, and I just went in and typed into Google when I got home,
Yeah,
and it says biogas, and that was the start of the journey. Then
Right.
we
So you would have been one of the first, really, in the.
yeah,
in-
I was the first. I would have been the first. First hours, you know, there was two of us. Sort of got started fairly rapidly then, but yeah, it was one of the first.
So you sort of realised, right, you know, we need to add on more here without working really any harder, but an investment in some equipment could have a far bigger return than what you were getting directly from the cattle, like.
Yeah, well, I suppose I looked at it from the point of view, you know, what can we fit alongside what we do, you know, and look, the farm needs energy, it needs fertiliser, and biogas gives them two things, you know, at first cost.
Yes.
You know, because we obviously had the waste on farm. We also had an energy usage on farm, and we were all the time buying fertiliser. So, from, you know, at first sight, it looked like a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
But when we got into the financials, there was no great incentive at that time. From
There's
the
no
government.
grants or anything.
No grants, so it looked great. And I remember when we got to the airport and the first trip, we were all sort of giddy nearly that this was we found the hen with
Yeah.
lay the golden egg. But
Yeah.
when we got to the airport, we back a fag packet, as people would say. We started counting, and
Yeah.
by the time we were getting on the plane, we said, "Oh, this is a disaster. It doesn't
Yeah.
count."
Right.
So, but we didn't give up on it, Killian, and we knew by talking to ones that, you know, this is the way the government was going, and we knew that we just had to try and find a way to get more incentive out of government, which that then took us on a journey then,
Yes.
trying to lobby really for that.
Yeah, to get that to be the way to,
Yeah.
to go forward.
At the actual fact, when I got the call about the rocks, was in this part of the road, 'cause I
Right,
always
okay.
remembered.
Yeah.
So-
It was a big day, like
it
a
was a
big,
big day, yeah.
So obviously at the time, then you're going to build the bio plant.
Yeah.
Like, how many people were on site? How many people working on the farm? Was it just you and your father, or who else?
No,
Who else?
well, when we were doing the construction side, we were still heavily involved in construction, but obviously we're in the middle of the credit crunch at that stage,
Yeah.
and that was around 2009, 10. You know, banks were getting very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, everything was just difficult, but we were still farming away, and we still had a few guys in construction. So we probably had maybe 5 or 6 men working on the farm, and we had probably the same, you know,
Yeah.
still at the construction side, which was
Yeah.
fairly small at that time because we were cut back. And look, we got the funding. We got started, Killian, and look, I suppose we just went on a real journey then, because when we built our own plant
Yeah.
went quite well. We ended up working with a company that helped build our plant, and then we went out and sold a number of them all over
Right.
the UK and
Okay.
Ireland. So we did. So reasons we ended up in waste was because it financially didn't stack up without waste
Okay.
originally, so we couldn't really pay for feedstock. So we went and got our plan on, our licenses and all in place. So obviously that had another string to our bow then when we got started.
Yeah.
So very quickly we realised then that our biggest restriction to getting bigger was our grid connection.
Yes.
So we couldn't export any more power onto the grid. so we had to start moving gas.
Okay.
So then in 2017, we become the first in the world to make bio-LNG commercially.
Right.
Like, very quickly, especially in the technology end, things become dated.
Yeah.
And as you'll see here now in a minute, we're putting on new robots, and that's just not because the old robots are done or they're far from done, but the technology has improved. It lets us take more milk out of the animals now, and effectively makes more use of these buildings around us, where we can get more animals into the buildings because of the robots. So,
So many cows do you milk? How many cows would be milked?
well, we've around about 800 cows. So we have
For
here,
milking?
For milking, yeah.
So that's
Now,
twice a day.
That's some of these cows can be milked 4 or 5 times a day on the robots.
And so see the thing, I'm not from a farming background, clearly. I'm obviously from Mayo, but I wouldn't know a whole pile about cows. The things around their necks then, what's that like, just to keep track of them? Obviously there's such a volume of cows.
There's a collar there which that identifies the animal when it goes on the robot. So it means we can get, we have live information on all them animals all the time.
So what sort of technology is this, we'll say, say where you were normal dairy farmers, you just put them up like some people are still doing it to this day.
Yeah.
At what stage then, or what was the big thing that you said, right, you know what, I think we can get more from these cows? Was it people involved in the industry? Was it people selling the machinery? What dragged you on to say, right, we need to get more out of what we have?
Well, Killian, I suppose one of my main reasons for going down robotics, when we built the biogas plant originally, we were very much at a crossroads. So do we stay at farming, do we go down more that route and around biogas route? And there was part of me thought that the two businesses work really well together.
Yeah.
So we ended up, and I wanted to find a system that probably attracts younger people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which was one of the big drivers, because there's no point making a place big and then wanting nobody.
No staff. No one's
staff.
working it, yeah.
And this part here where we're doing new, that used to be where the old rotary parlour was. And it was a great system to milk cows, but getting staff to stand
very
on it
labour
3
intensive.
times, very labour, and you're standing on it 3 times a day and on social hours. So we had to try and find something around that. And then my own young fella coming on, I had to sort of consider would he want to be doing that.
And what age is he?
He's 14 there
and
now.
what level of interest is say 14-year-old Jason versus your 14-year-old son? He is farming mad as well?
He does, Killian, he does now. In all fairness, and I suppose I'm not really pushing him either, which is
probably the best way to do it.
Which is the best way.
Yeah.
In sport, I might push him harder. Which he would, especially as rugby there, I have the poor cub tortured. But on the farming, he seems to naturally want to do it. It seems to be. If he come up the yard, he's straight on here, whereas he wouldn't jump onto the biogas as quick. But then that's probably less fun.
But probably when he's down to the figures games, he'd be more interested in the biogas and what it can do.
Yeah, this is it. Then
we're looking at all the building works here, and this has all happened. We'll say, the development of the business probably majorly since 2010-11. I'm guessing around the dates are in the recession sort of. You would have been farming, but then when you diversified. But at what stage? So you said the unit you have now is still okay, but you got a newer unit. When does one then say, well, no, I've enough done, or will that day ever? Is that just not your character? You say, you know what, I'm going to keep pushing and keep the boot to the headlamp the whole time.
Well, I ask myself that question, Killian. Rallying has a bit to play in this, because I found last year we had an awful lot going on here last year. I would say my rallying struggled a wee bit because of it, because I was going to rallies and knowing that I needed to be at home, and probably that week leading up to it, you're fighting yourself all week. Whereas I'd say, the previous years, we were more settled. We weren't doing as much new.
But you'd have contractors on, you'd have machinery people, there'd be a lot of people trying to. So when you're heading down the road a Friday evening, really your head, it can't be in it. It couldn't be in it.
No. And even when you got your head on it, it only took one bad call or an alarm coming through on your phone, and then your head was off again. And I think Paddy McCrudden would be able to say that, because I can switch on or switch off very quickly, which is not something I want to do in a rally car, but this place is the
bread
and butter, and it's the reason that them things happen. And even when we have things running well, you know, things still can go wrong when you're away at rallying. So yeah, this is now.
So what's that? So that's taken. What waste exactly? Where is it coming from? It's coming from the farm, but is that it or?
No, we have a lot of food waste come here as well.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, a lot of processing waste and a lot of fruit and veg.
And it's turning it all into gas.
all on the gas.
But is there any emissions then? There's no emissions.
See, it's all sealed.
Yeah.
So we're capturing that, and then we're either liquefying it through your biomethane unit, or we're burning it in CHPs.
So why would this? I know it's not allowed in the south.
Yeah.
Why would you think that one of these isn't allowed in the south for doing the same purpose?
I don't think that it's not allowed in the south. I think, like everything, I suppose, lack of understanding, I would say, is a big part of the problem. And I think big lack of the biggest thing, Killian, in the south is incentive.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
so-
you need it subsidised in some way.
Need it subsidised.
Because obviously you're looking at this equipment here. It's
Oh,
not
it's
small
millions,
money.
millions.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
it's Killian. This is a you know, it's a great system, but this runs 24/7,
Yeah.
and it has to run 24/7.
So
It's
you have
not-
fitters here as well. Obviously,
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
engineers
yeah.
that have to be on site the whole
Which
time.
I'll show you some of that now as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
There's a few on the way today, but
Yeah.
meeting. But
So
this-
what was the first one then you built? Obviously, you didn't build the whole lot of them
This was
together.
the first one here.
This one.
But I'll
Right.
be able to show you maybe upstairs.
Yeah.
Maybe get a wee look over it.
Yes.
But effectively, this is biogas.
Okay.
That's farm.
Yes.
So-
Okay. So this is the road in
that's the
between them.
divide, yeah.
Okay, and then so the food deliveries, then the food waste.
That's
How is that
coming in.
captured? Is that from say waste businesses from the
Yeah.
small little bins?
Yeah,
Tip
from-
it over, so it comes. A lot of it will come here.
A lot of our waste would be, you know, maybe out of date.
Yes.
Yeah,
Food.
super,
yes.
yeah,
Off supermarkets.
supermarket, so it would.
Okay.
Then we have, like, there's the waste there that's
Yeah.
sitting on the door. It's not the most pleasant sight,
Yes,
but
yeah.
That's,
It is what it is.
That's apple pumice, you know. So
Okay.
so that's
yeah,
just
apples. Yeah,
for-
gone off
for ju-
apples.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For, you know, they're making the juice.
Yes. Yes.
So effectively, we have the waste comes on here.
Yeah.
Then we feed it to the plant.
Yeah.
And then we go through a process there,
Okay.
which effectively is just a stomach.
Yeah. That's what it's doing. It's your stomach's job.
Yeah, which releases the gas.
Incredible facility. Just as you said, we're on the rally side of things.
Yeah.
I know Farm Flicks were here already.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into the rallying side of things now, and we're going to run up to all local enough. IN Sport is only over the road, so we'll jump in the car and we'll go over there and we'll catch up, because I want to get more of a story. A lot of people are going to be tuning in, wondering, well, when are we going to get to the rallying side of Jason? Let me tell you, the next stage is going to be the rallying side of Jason. So join us at IN Sport here shortly. So we've seen the farm, Jason, and now we're in IN Sport headquarters. Of course, Niall McGonigal is heavily involved with your rallying from almost the start, we'll say. So we're looking back. I said at the very start of the video, that you're recent enough to rallying, like 5 years. 2019, I think, possibly was your debut. How I know that is with particularly Philip Case and myself ran a Hyundai Drive Day, where everyone got to drive in an R5 car, and you were the last person to land late. And then a few weeks later, I think you had a R5 Fiesta bought. So tell us, you were later to the game, we'll say, of rally, and obviously work. We've seen the commitment from an investment point of view, time point of view, that went into your farm and all your businesses. So rallying just wasn't at the top of your ladder. At what stage did you say, you know what, I wouldn't mind giving this a go?
Well, if I'm being honest, Killian, I would say the biggest. I always fancied the driving, you know, but probably didn't know very much about rallying. You know, I was one of them. I would say children that was running around stock cars around the farmyard for years, and had, you know, a big interest in driving. Didn't really know about rallying, and I would say, truth be told, we were very heavily involved in rugby. We were a big rugby family. So
You were saying Greg, who's obviously one of your sponsors,
Yeah.
Greg Mitchell's your brother.
Yeah.
A lot of people would be familiar with his garage on the main road there. He's one of your sponsors, but he played professional rugby.
Yeah, he was professional, so he was up to he was up to his 26 or 7, and then just decided, you know, look, he wants to start a business, and that's how he ended up with Greg Mitchell Motors. But I suppose if I tell, you know, my rugby career lasted longer than Gregor's, not as high a level, but I played till I was 36, and once I stopped playing rugby, you know, I was sat about for maybe 4 or 5 years now. I said to myself, I need a sport, and the rallying and the driving side of it, I said, you know, I'd love to get into some sort of driving. And Gareth Sayers. We were talking one day, and I says, I wonder. I love running one of them rally cars, and he brought his own car down. We took a wee run, and he says, "I'll speak to Kenny McKinstry and see if we can get you run out." So we went to Nuts Corner. And
So you hadn't a license at this stage?
no license,
so, right.
jumped into McKinstry's car. And
This is about 2018, I'm saying, isn't it?
2019.
2019, okay.
2019.
Okay.
This was just maybe
Before you went to Hyundai.
A few weeks before,
Yeah.
because then we started talking about cars then.
Yeah.
And never forget it. Gareth, he went out and took me a run round the first lap, and Kenny had to give me a wee run up the road prior to it, and I remember going out in the first lap and the launch.
It was an S14.
The S14, and you had a launch, and you had
yeah.
about, and Nuts Corner, you had about 50 yards, you had to turn square right,
Yeah.
and the car took off a quick,
Yeah.
my head would light, and I says, "Jeegers, I can't even see the square right."
Yeah.
And but I had a great day's crack, and the bug, you know what I mean.
That was it. You're
Yeah.
chasing the fix since nearly, yeah.
So then that's what landed us in, because Philip was obviously running running an R5, and Gareth says to me, "Jump on that and take a go and take a run, see if that's the sort of car you like," because he was obviously, the world car was so much different. So.
Yeah.
And then
It was around Ahadui. I think it's exactly this time 5 years ago. It could be even to the day.
Yeah.
So that was the start of the real, we'll say, the big journey.
Yeah. It was that after that day. Then we went looking about a car, and I bought Craig Breen's 20
Mark 1 Fiesta.
Mark 1 Fiesta.
Yeah.
And
That was the car that won the championship that year. Yeah.
And we went to Turkey Run, and I think we were second quickest in the first stage, and hit the car as well into the bargain. So I had to team it back then the rest of the day, because I realised it just wasn't. I wasn't going around a farmyard in a stock car anymore. So, but no, look, Killian, looking like really have enjoyed me rallying. Now obviously you do have bad days at rallying, both from I suppose different aspects of rallying. Obviously, either your pace, you're not happy with your pace, or you've your brakes, or you go off. But broadly speaking, like, we've really enjoyed it. And I would say one thing that I've learned this year, which is the first year I've learned it, is when work is nearly as big a problem to your pace.
Yes.
As
because you need your
your
mind
actual
fully
driving.
focused.
Yeah.
Because I would say I'd say approach everything you do from previous to what I known about you was, obviously I met you that Hyundai day. Then February 2020, before COVID, you came down to me for a day because you wanted to learn pace notes.
Yeah.
And you had a little notebook with you and you wrote everything down.
Yeah.
So it was like you obviously, whatever you do, you obviously don't do it like by 50%. You obviously commit or not commit.
Yeah.
And so the COVID came down. So we're going to rewind because we will get to this year yet. But COVID hit. So you were there with a Mark 1 Fiesta, and obviously you were just mad to get going and nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So that was like, you nearly lost a year there straight away.
Yeah. Well, we sorted that, but I shouldn't maybe be saying this, but like, we all headed over to do the ERC. So I think
You have an event in Canaries, I've seen in
Yeah,
Canaries,
we were-
Portugal as well. Yeah.
I've done first tarmac rally in
But you're
Belgium.
jumping in, like, that'd be like going to the playing in the World Cup from the start.
I
Like.
know. We went to I think Belgium first, and I actually got
right.
on quite well, but the conditions were terrible. And
Yeah.
then I suppose with me, the gravel and stuff, I was sort of suited me a bit better. We had actually quite a good result. I think we finished 10th or 11th in Belgium.
And you'd only done one, not
That's
even,
my first,
first rally,
tarmac,
yeah.
first tarmac rally.
So you knew you had a flair for it. You knew you had speed.
You probably had speed, and I would, looking back on it, there was a bit of me had to probably team it back a wee bit, because I did get away with probably a lot at the start.
Yeah.
But like when I went to the Canaries with Peter Ward, Belgium was one thing, but when I went to Canaries, the EWRC, like we had some crack, but
2-run recce, you never made notes
never
before.
made
Like,
notes. And we have wee bits of footage, along with Peter Ward, where I think Peter's head was absolutely melted with me.
yeah, because it'd be
kept
like, no
changing.
matter how, like, you'd keep changing notes.
Yeah.
And like, you're not going to get them consistent. You're only start a rally and then you have to go making them from scratch in the ERC, which is obviously Spain is like any of the Spanish events are like race circuits.
Yeah.
the corners are late, you can't, but they're very hard. It's hard to describe. It's totally different than tarmac
And
here.
you don't really know where you are in the corner, and the corners
Yeah.
are quite long. And
Yep.
I remember the first day. We'd done our first day rallying, and that night I didn't sleep the whole night. I sat up in the foyer,
Yeah.
going over my notes all night,
Imagine.
going, I haven't a clue.
It's hard to even enjoy it though. Hard to enjoy it probably.
It was.
But if you wouldn't do it now, probably not knowing what you do now.
And if I tell, if you sort of look back on it, it was complete madness. Made me realise there's a lot of places in rallying that's more than driving.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly I realised that, pace is not all about driving. And if I look back at what I was doing, in my thought process before I started rallying, it was all about the driver.
Yeah.
I would say 50 or 60% of rallying pace is.
It's all the small things.
It's nearly sits outside of the actual driving piece.
Yeah.
Because
there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of cogs that have to go. There's a lot of cogs that have to spin at the same time together to get it. And the problem is you can't make any major adjustments.
No.
But it's marginal gains really, isn't it?
And you're trying to, and then I suppose I was trying to find, I suppose, the setup. I hadn't a clue. Didn't have a clue.
Whatever we were given, you had
Yeah,
you worked with.
But I suppose what I was trying to find in my own head out, and especially out then, probably up until this year, I was trying to find out what I like to hear myself.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, what was catching me out in rallies? Because
Yes.
the way the times you be coming hammering along, and then the next thing you get this moment.
The road disappears.
Your road disappears, or there's certain stuff that the car does things, and until you get around them roads a certain amount of times, nobody can explain that to you.
Yeah.
So look, that was all big learning for me. And then I suppose when I come home to rally, I was always fairly happy with my gravel pace. But then when I went race,
Is that from going around the farm, would you say, in quads and stuff over, as you say, bangers and stuff? Yeah. It just feels normal that the car's moving.
Yeah, I feel, I never have a worry when I'm on gravel. I feel that I can completely get out of control and still sort of be in control, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Tarmac was, I was always disappointed.
Yeah.
And yes, I've had a few decent runs in tarmac, but I haven't really.
Yeah.
You've
never drove home from a tarmac rally and said that was 10 out of 10. Everything clicked.
Yeah.
There was always something just niggling
always,
at you.
always something. Now, Monaghan last year, in the last stage or two in Monaghan, when Eddie Doherty and myself were sort of going for third there. Now Eddie had a good wee bit on me, but going on to the last two, but I knew my pace was sort of good there because Sam and Joyce will obviously go very hard in their home stages, and I sort of felt good there. And then when I look at the rest of the season, then it sort of all went, I wouldn't say wrong, because but I didn't know, was it me, the car, my pace just wasn't where I wanted it to be.
Or probably all this going on at home. Or at work, we'd say, rather than home. Yeah.
And I think work, when I look back from Monaghan, a lot of the pressure had come on with the work. You probably after that. And I couldn't, I felt my notes were better, I felt my understanding was better, but my pace wasn't.
Yeah.
And as rally drivers, we probably try and blame. We probably blame everything by ourselves. But a lot of the time, I was blaming myself, but I never mind blaming myself if I know what's wrong.
Yeah.
But some of the times I was coming out of stages and going I'm too far
Head
away.
scratching.
I was head scratching. So, and all I can put it down to is that maybe all this work going on, and maybe not just being as focused, because when you're that week leading up to a rally, and I know a lot of people say they just roll up to a rally, but it's very, very hard to roll up to a rally and try and race.
It is everyone's a lot of people on DVDs and obviously videos and stage videos, and again, going back to it, there's no big thing that you can change. It's all the small things really have to align, don't they?
Yeah, and I think going forward, and I said this recently as well, I think I never put an awful lot on the testing. I get out of the car, go up and down the road a few times, and if I feel good in the car, that's it. We're out of there. And I don't know sometimes you used to wonder, is it because you're afraid you're going to put her off in
Yeah,
the test,
yeah, yeah,
or,
yeah.
you know, I think one thing that, you know, this year they'll definitely will be doing more testing.
Yeah, it's critical because you know, like everyone goes into the first stage, they come to the end of the first stage, they talk to myself and they say they're relatively happy with the run. Then by the end of the day, by the second run, they might be 5-6 seconds quicker, then another 5-6 seconds. But it's how do you grab the 10 at the start of the days? Like how do you replicate the feeling that's in your head when you go into a second? Obviously, it's a bit of familiarity, but everyone's chasing that bit because the jump in the morning is where it's at,
That's
like
exactly
you know.
it,
But then
man.
you're cold, so you have to be hot from testing.
Yeah, and you know, you look at, if you sort of look at the times, like say Callum or Keith or Matt or any of the top fellas, like if you look at their times, like they do not really alter.
No,
You
they're
know,
very consistent.
You'll see everybody getting closer to them
Yeah.
as the day goes on, but they don't alter. They don't alter from first stage one, so they can only do that. Callum and Keith and Matt can only really do that by understanding their own process and trying to replicate that every time they get into the car.
Yeah.
And all right, there does be small, you know, setup that they tweak, but they're obviously able to go to a test or pre-rally,
I know what they
get
want.
themselves set up and go on to stage one and just do it.
Knowing it's correct. Yeah, rarely you hear them complaining about setup, really. And as you said, they don't improve that much, but the gaps of them is like you're looking at stages that are coming to end of knockout. It's some of the hardest stages in the country, and the gaps between them is on the same second, 4 or 5. Then you say the next step back, the guys are only 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, and their heads are down, they're disillusioned. But like, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 over 18 kilometers. It's nothing.
I know.
So often I think that the level is so high here, and the standard is so high that people are wrongly hard on themselves. Is what I always look at people. You know, come to stage end, they're disappointed, but like I often say, like they really shouldn't be. You know, because there is so much involved in getting the time.
Yeah, and I find, you know, I think a lot of that disappointment, I'm one of them people, one of them disappointments in that stage, like everybody loves the feeling of being on a race.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on a
drags
rally,
you on.
you're rally drivers, you're on a race. So, you know, people would like, people say, you know, like I would probably pull out of a rally now if I thought I was out of a race.
Yeah.
Which I would have cursed people for doing that years ago, going, well, wait, you spent all this money to get here.
Yeah.
But I
I think we
genuinely,
have a better understanding today, though.
yeah. I just feel, but I feel, you know, when you're in a rally, like, you know, you look at your stage time, you know, obviously you're the person that tells us, and we're looking at, we're going, oh, we're 5 down or 10 down on the first stage, and you're sitting going, if I don't get my act together within a couple of stages here, I'm sitting in no man's land, and you know.
Yeah, it's over. The enjoyment's gone out of it.
You know what I mean? And then you're debating in your head, is it worth crashing the car to try and get a good time, or to be reset and go again? You know.
Yeah, rallying's a very hard sport, isn't it? Like you were saying, you know, obviously 50% of the driving, but the 50%, the other 50 is made up. It's mostly in your head, you know, your mind playing tricks on you on the way out to the stage. You know, then as you're saying, you drop time in the first stage, then your mind's playing tricks with you again, saying, well, you know, do we risk it all now and maybe still not get a great result? Like it's so difficult. It's a mind game.
100%. I'm like, I compare myself on gravel, you know, and you know my mindset on gravel, and you know I can quite easily now, and I know it's maybe, you know, not always this way, because I'm sure you'll be at the stage time and we'll see it differently. But I sit back now and I'd be quite content going on to the first stage and going. I can. There's a pace that I can set myself at, and I'm going, and that's nearly a gauge pace.
Because you're happy in the car.
I'm happy,
you're happy with yourself in the car.
Engaged, and I know that I don't have to, you know, or not that I don't know that you don't know where you're going to be until you get to the end of the first stage, but you know you engage it and go, right, that's going to be fairly good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fairly good, and let's see what everybody else does.
Yeah.
Whereas I go to tarmac, and I'm driving out to that first stage, and I'm going, geez, I need to keep my toe on her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you're convincing yourself. No, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate.
And don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And you know, Rory Kennedy once said to me, because you know, went through the notes
Yeah,
as well, and I went with Rory.
Yeah.
One time as well, and Rory said to me, you know, one of the biggest things. Rory sat with me in one of the sprints.
Dava, you won that actually last year, yeah.
And Rory says to me, you know, Jason, when you drive up the start, just say, just trust yourself. Just, I feel comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Just to tell yourself that.
Yeah,
you know what
relax.
I mean? And relax. And, that's probably something that I haven't really been able to do in tarmac.
Yeah.
But again, I might tell myself the way out the road.
You have to go back though, like you're still having a whole pile of rallying done. Yeah. Okay, you look at EWRC, you have a right bit done in a short space of time. Really, COVID take a year and a half out with that. I know you did a couple abroad and that, but again, that was more like a test session because you're going, you hadn't made notes before, you're going to foreign countries, it's completely different. So with hard rallying, you've probably 2 hard years done, which isn't a lot, and
a lot of it at the start was gravel.
Yeah.
So
well, everyone always goes back to their safety zone.
Yeah.
Whenever things don't work in something else, you naturally go back to it. So that's your safety zone is the gravel. But you don't strike me as a person that said, you know what, I'm going to just stay away from tarmac. I think it's something you're enjoying the challenge, but it's frustrating you.
Yeah, and I think when I suppose when I take my background, there's none of my family has any rally background, or there's nobody, as I said to you earlier, my brother and my father are big car fanatics, but they're not drivers. Whereas I wasn't a car fanatic, I just loved driving, and I would always feel that, I'd want to feel that I could drive anything. So, if I cracked it in tire, I might go and try snow. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's one of my biggest things that, I don't feel that I've, in gravel, I'm not saying because I haven't won anything too serious, but I feel that I can go anywhere and probably not embarrass myself.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel in tarmac, I think, if I was to do no more rallying, I'd be walking away from rallying not content.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to get off. I want to get rid of that. I want to come away and say, we've got I've never won a tarmac rally.
No, but you've a good few wins on gravel. You have some great racing here with the IN Sportman. Your compadre at Nile here in Cork. You have a few wins this year. You have the Dog Leap.
Yeah.
You have
Cork
Forestry, and you have Dava as well. Don't you have Dava?
No, Dava was last year.
Last year. Okay.
Last year.
Okay.
And then I've had that's the ones.
So for 2025, we're at the end of 2024. We got a quick snapshot here. The Polo's for sale.
Yeah.
Any plans? Are you changing brands? Are you going a bit fresher? And what rallies would you say that you're planning on doing from now? Obviously, that you have to scratch that itch with the win, but there's no soft victories in this country. So there's nowhere you could go where you could head down. It is getting harder. It is, but
and you can see now the new, I'm not on the sport very long to be saying the new crop of boys, but there's obviously a new crop of fellas that we can all see is going to be here, and I wouldn't want to say nobody wants to win an easy rally, but any rally wants a good rally, but in 20 years time they'll not know who whether it was easy or not, but at the same time, you sort of probably, I probably have to be honest with myself and say, am I going to be able to beat a Callum Devine or Keith
Cronin or Josh Moffat or whatever.
That's a stretch too far. Could I do something on a national?
Yeah.
That's what I'd be hoping at some stage. Now, obviously, I would need to lift the pace a bit more, and I would need lift the pace a bit more, and I would need to get a bit more comfortable. But and as you asked about the car, the Polo's for sale, and we've a Skoda coming.
The Skoda seems to be a good package. I mean, you look at Callum, sat straight into it in Donegal, Declan Boyle, Wexford, it's rejuvenated his career as well as, his competitive career for sure. Obviously, it's pretty similar to the Polo, I would imagine.
See, that's probably because, there was the talk of the Toyota, and we were trying to get down that avenue, but probably now, after listening to the likes of Callum and hearing Declan's stories as well, I think one thing for a gravel driver likes movement.
Yeah.
And from what I'm told, that the Skoda gives more movement than what the Polo does, but has all the benefits of the Polo. So for me, I can't wait to drive the Polo or the Skoda and tarmac, just to see if I can get that wee bit more that just pushes me on that wee bit further. And
So it probably helps then. So the first event, you more than likely be competing in Big Galway International the first weekend of February. Generally, Galway conditions, the car will be moving a lot.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be an event you'd be afraid of going to in a new car.
well, look, everybody knows Galway can be tricky, but look, I think, I suppose if you look at it too, Gillian, I can't remember what rally that I slid off the road on. Like you're going to Galway.
Galway 2 years ago, you had a puncture on the first stage.
Puncture on the first stage,
Yeah.
and that was my first
Yeah.
polo.
Yeah.
And even this year, it's nearly. You're going to Galway, it's going to be slippy, and
Yeah.
the car's probably set up a bit softer.
Yeah.
When I look at that, I don't know what rally I slid off the road, but they're one of them last national rounds done, and like we were out great conditions.
Yeah.
21 tires on, and,
Yeah.
and the rain come down.
Yeah.
Didn't have the sense to soften the car off.
Yes.
And went off and slid off the road. So
Yes.
for me, like everybody says, when the conditions are. When you know the conditions are going to be bad,
Your
the
mind's
car's
right.
sort of set up, your
Yeah.
head's sort of set up.
Yeah.
You're not, you're sort of knowing what to expect. As long as I suppose, the conditions don't change drastically within Galway, but which will probably be unlikely, because even if it was dry, there's going to be muck. pulled
Correct.
out.
It's just the nature of the terrain, and the roads are generally shiny and slippy.
Yeah, yeah.
Just before we finish up, obviously you have you've had a few co-drivers over the year, but we have to give a special mention, obviously, to Paddy, the fastest postman from Donegal Town. Like, you've a great working relationship to Perry there, good fella. He's cool under pressure. I don't think he ever panics.
Paddy's the coolest man, and I'd say I've tried Paddy a few times
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Up care, 5 left in over big jump crest. Wee bit of care on it. 100. 6 right over. 6 right over a bump crest. Fuck you. 120 left. 180 crest. 170 slippy. 3 left over gravel. Into turn hairpin right around the bill. Turn hairpin around the bill. Holy Jesus, boys.
But no, Paddy is Paddy's been very good, and like if anybody that sees him watches on care, like
He's very
Paddy,
calm, yeah.
very calm, and like what people don't realise, like that don't rally is that see driving about a car all day,
Yeah.
and Paddy, somebody having to sit there with a notepad and you change and stuff, and that man sitting with his head down all day.
Yeah.
Like Paddy never complains.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And like.
He's a cool demeanour. Even when you meet him, he if you were stressed yourself when you met him, you'd be sort of a bit calmer. He wouldn't be hyped up.
Yeah.
Short 3 left plus. Short 3 left plus. And max 5 right. Keep her at it now. 84 right plus. Past the wall. 80. 5 right. Only 60.
It works.
Very, very easy company, and really, really enjoys his rally. You can, like, when we're going well, like in especially gravel, there's a few clips even we've probably put up in the past of Paddy, like he's just saying how much he loves it. You know what I mean? So no, Paddy has been excellent, and look, I have to say, out of all the co-drivers, have been good, but now obviously Paddy has been my main co-driver over the last few years, and 100% mighty man, and long may it continue.
Perfect. Well, Jason, thanks very much for having us today. That is it from our day with Jason Mitchell. I hope you really enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit subscribe on Rally TV on our YouTube, and you can look forward to more series over the coming weeks.